So there was this offer by, I think, a producer on or a guest on Joe Rogan's show that said that, um, uh, a 4 hour debate between Joe Biden and Trump, no audience, Joe Biden moderating and all that. And then Trump made headlines when he retweeted that with I want a part of that. Basically, I do want a part of that. And but I believe there hasn't been any official response from Biden camp, but some of his sort of spokespeople have said that no, we don't think that would be appropriate based on previous comments made by Joe Rogan. I thought, in my view, I don't think it's ever going to happen, but I do think it would be a good idea for it to happen. But I think you have the opposing view, if I'm not mistaken.
No, the thing is, not really, but I tell you why. I was just thinking, it's because, okay, I mean, the Biden response and saying that Joe Rogan, used the N-words and all this. I mean, I'm quite into MMA, so I know Joe Rogan a lot from there. And I only watch his podcast episodes really when they involve MMA fighters, not so much about these other topics that he gets into. But these accusations are baseless. If he's made mistakes and said things wrongly, he's often come out and apologized about them. And he has 3 hour podcast. Let's not forget he's a stand-up comedian. Okay, so I think some of these things were taken out of his stand-up comedy material, like some of these criticisms, which is just absolute bullshit. So let's forget about that. But it's funny, you said a guest suggested it. So this guest of his, and I didn't watch this episode, although it was a fighter. So his name is Tim Kennedy, and he is very much famous he used to be in the US Army. So he's one of the few, he's a former UFC fighter, he's a bit older now, but he's like a super outspoken right-wing pro-gun guy. So that's the angle that he's coming from. So I'm sure he's super, super pro-Trump, of course. So he's just saying that. And I mean, it's just how pathetic things have gone into that. Like, okay, Joe Rogan is the best person to do this. Nothing against Joe Rogan, but it's not a debate if it's like a podcast and they come and talk and he just says this and they kind of talk over each other or just say whatever. And then if it's going to be an actual like debate, then it's going to resemble, I think, kind of like a normal debate. And why would it? And they don't have anything to say for 4 hours. Even what is Trump going to say for 4 hours? That's just what didn't get me excited coming from there. I just found it to be so stupid and baseless, and it's never going to happen. And I mean, if we've reached such a pathetic place in life, I mean, let's just forget about it.
I mean, look,
So I'm fired up.
I've seen debates as far as they go back. I love watching some of the old footages. So I don't think there was ever that high quality of questioning of candidates anyway. Yeah. I do actually think, I don't know, I completely disagree. I think now that you say that, the person who suggested it was a hardcore right-winger, the 4 hour part of it makes sense because that's clearly designed to, destroy Biden because he can barely stay awake more than half an hour. So
I think with the right amount of doping and drugs, he could.
Sorry?
I think with the right amount of doping and drugs, he could pull it off.
4 hours, yeah, but it's definitely to Trump's advantage. It's like Trump's home court. But I think I don't know. I think Joe Rogan would have been
Even Trump would struggle because he wouldn't get to talk for 4 hours. I mean, of course, he's gonna have to let Joe talk, and he's gonna have to let Biden talk, and I can see him like dosing off.
Well, to be honest, I think it would be really good. I think Joe Rogan would have asked really good questions. Probably, to be honest, legalization of marijuana would have definitely come up something that there is a good chance would not come up, and with good arguments, not from it. Are you gonna allow our children to use drugs and kill them? You know what I mean? Like not in a, not framed in a very anti-legalization framework.
Yeah,
and wait. And I've seen Joe Rogan moderate 2 different debates. One about a documentary about about bodybuilding and vegetarian diet, and one about uh, like potential like ancient history and debates surrounding Egyptian structures and all that. And I think he's actually a really good moderator. And then you have the other producer person sort of checking stuff. So I don't know. I disagree. I completely think it would have been a great idea, to be honest.
Kind of changed my mind here a tiny bit, but I'll just say tiny bit because you just pointed out the areas that Joe Rogan has expertise in. I mean, he's been talking about that forever. He spends like most of his day talking about nutrition and working out and all of that. So again, that fell into his area. I mean, and he has other things, and I've seen other debates on him. You're right. He is not too bad. But I mean, outside of those issues and just how ridiculous it is that we've reached there, if not, sure, I think we would get more out of a 1 hour, I think 1 hour, 1 or 2 hour Joe Rogan moderated debate than the normal one. That is true, although.
Yeah. And did you watch his interview with Bernie Sanders? That wasn't
No,
it
that was.
wasn't the deepest interview, but it was pretty good. They did address like criminal reform and all that.
Yeah, in a podcast format like that. But I mean, it's just that it's going to turn into like, yeah, debate. I just didn't see.
I find it difficult to believe how would he or any like that like you know controlling Trump in that environment, in a more freewheeling environment. Trump would, I think it. I don't know. I think he might. It might be to his advantage. It might cause him to actually say some stuff that are so controversial. Although I don't know. It would have been interesting. I don't think it's ever gonna happen.
And
But
the reason
it
that
would
it's
have been really.
whatsoever is also one reason that I was just like, I mean, it's just too much wishful thinking in a way.
It does. I mean, the act of suggesting it in such a public and open way is probably a bit of a bit of a PR attack on like because Biden is the one who has to refuse. But still, I think that's in their benefit than Biden actually doing the thing. So
Yeah. But yeah, I don't know why I just like, even though what you're saying, you agree, I don't know why it just, as
doesn't feel right.
odd, yeah, it wasn't appealing to me. Although I see these points that you're saying, and I mean, it's not like the normal debates, I found them intriguing whatsoever. I mean, they're the worst thing. The questions, you're right. So you want every kid out there to smoke until they die?
So Medicare for all. So you want all of us to go bankrupt, right? You socialist piece of shit.
I love that. I love whenever they say about the Medicare one, I love when they say that, people like their doctors. It's just like, fine, okay, and they're not going to take away their doctors and still keep talking. Then the second one is like, oh, they really like their plans. I've never heard anybody who's like emotionally attached to an insurance plan beyond benefits. So if the other one brings more, like, this one offer
To be
more.
fair, that's where Democrats, like the establishment Democrats at least, and Republicans, they betray their real alliance because the only people who do like their plans are really high-end professional, high earning professional people, professional class, because they have great probably health plans, right? So, and that's the people they hang out with, they see, they represent. So yeah, they love their plans, I guess. They're probably not more than 5% or 15% of the population at most, but they do like their plans.
No, no, they really love their plan. Here's a better plan. No, 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 no. Me and this plan,
Yes.
we
We
go
go
way
way
back.
back.
This is the most ridiculous thing. But yeah, I think that's it. And I heard, and Joe Rogan moved to Texas recently. Did you hear that?
Yeah. He moved to I don't Nevada, Texas,
He's
somewhere. Yeah.
getting a lot of backlash. I was reading the comments. His studio is like nowhere near as nice.
Yeah. I
as-
I must say I hate his new studio.
yeah.
It's awful. It's
And his,
it's such a 90s neon. It's like it's I don't know, comic book fan 90s comic book. That's all it's Fucking
The
hell.
studio was amazing. Whenever they would, I wonder if he still has that wooden table because they post a picture sometimes of from the top, and you would see the table. It was like this sick ass wooden table, like all the stuff on it. I mean, I thought that studio looked really good, but even like everyone in the comment section were like, "What the hell is going on with this alien looking?"
It looks like a shitty disco from an alien planet. Not even a good disco.
But he says that he moved to Texas because of there are more freedoms. So I wonder which freedoms exactly. I think he's probably referring to things he can do on his land and maybe hunting. Because I mean, I think abortion
Yeah, yeah.
is restricted there.
Cheaper, cheap.
Yeah, or like taxes. I mean, they're all like kind of personal ones I can think of in that way. But yeah, he decided to move Texas, and he always says that LA and where he lived was just too crowded and all of that.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, if yeah, I like cities generally more, but I can see myself at some point in life, especially when you have family, it makes sense to go somewhere a bit, I think, quieter, perhaps, with more land and all that. But yeah, I hate the new studio. I fucking hate it. It's just this. Yeah, it's. I hate the. It does. I mean, maybe it's a bit more appropriate for when he's doing MMA,
No,
like
not at all. It
especially when like he
had
has
nothing.
an intellect. No, no, I. It's just the feel it gives me. It's just so like I can't believe like now he's gonna have like all like some he sometimes he has really good intellectuals there, and it's just.
I mean, maybe 10% of his shows have to do with MMA fighters. Not even.
I know. The feel of the studio feels like more like a MMA based podcast than an intellectual. It's just awful. I hate it. I don't know.
I wonder if it's going to grow on people, but I doubt it because there's nothing to grow. grow.
It's so bland and
Yeah.
anyways.
I wonder if he'll change it even. I mean, now he has so much money with the deal with Spotify and everything. I mean, he always did. I mean, this guy, a lot of the things that he does, he just turn into gold. I mean, in the MMA world, he's more beloved than you can humanly imagine. And then he's also a relatively successful comedian, and of course, the podcast world and everything. So, I mean, you don't know the way he dictates what he does in the MMA world and like the company. If you knew the power balances, how he's the only person that that can do this. Like for instance, when coronavirus first hit the US, UFC, which is the main MMA organization, and I'll finish with this, they wanted to continue doing their shows immediately and all this, and all of the people working there, they have no power. They're like, yeah, sure, we want to do it and all that. And Joe Rogan said that he's not going to be flying anywhere. That was at the very beginning, and there were no protocols in place by the states about how to continue MMA fights. And he said no. And by the time they resumed their show, he did come back. But by then, a lot of things had changed, and the government had put out plans on how to, how to carry out sports without fans and all that. So all those and changed, and yeah, I really enjoy a lot of his content. But that guest that he had that day is a particular guest who wisely brought that up. Who
Yeah,
wisely.
you should don't. Yeah, bad messenger. The message may have not been that bad, but yes, yes. Okay.